Hi, hey, hello, how's it going? It's Emily, and today I have a video I'm very excited to film. So I teased in my February TBR that I would be creating a new TBR game. So that's what I've done. Very excited that I've actually followed through on a promise. I've created a TBR game based on or inspired by Formula One. So let me know if you're a Formula One fan. Shout out. I have a great time watching races, and I just had some ideas for a game that I thought could be really fun. So without further ado, here is, see if I can actually get in frame. This is TBR Grand Prix. Don't worry, we'll take a closer look at the board in just a minute and go through what all of these spaces mean and how it's played. But I did in fact create a new TBR game. So we're going to have a Grand Prix, and we're going to use this Grand Prix board game to figure out what I'm reading for the month of March. So first and foremost, let's go ahead and take a tour of the board, get the lay of the land, and see how the game is actually going to work. So let's start there. So welcome to TBR Grand Prix. So I'll take you around the board. So this is actually, or at least my best artistic rendition of, an actual track that is a Formula One track. This is the Circuit of the Americas, or this is what the track is shaped like for the Circuit of the Americas race. And so this is the race that takes place in Austin, in Texas, my home state. So I figured it would be fun to actually do the representation of that track since it's in my home state. So let's take a little bit of the tour here. So we have our character. This is the piece I'll be using. We have her on the start spot, and then we have 4 team spots. So these are 4 actual teams that are Formula One teams. So we have Mercedes, Haas, Alpine, and McLaren here. And so the team spots are going to be how I actually get prompts for books. So each of these 4 spots will represent one of these 4 parts of a deck of cards. So each deck will correspond to each of these teams' names, and on each of these cards is a different prompt. So that's how I'll actually pick the prompts for the books. So these are the first 4 spots. And DRS, or drag reduction system, is a way for drivers to actually be able to go faster on certain parts of the track. So for these DRS spots, I will be able to roll a dice and just keep moving forward. So this is a terrible emoji rendition of a flame. So I'm using this to represent a crash. So, if 2 cars crash together, occasionally flames are involved, not always, but this is the best way I could think of to represent a crash. So if I land on that spot right there, I need to go back all the way to the beginning. So this spot here is going to be a radio message. So the race engineer will be talking to the driver throughout the race and telling them about what's going on in the race, in the parts of the track where the driver can't really see, or if there are issues with the car that they need to talk through, if there's a change in race strategy. The race engineer is talking to the driver about those. So if I get those spots, these cards up here, there are radio messages on the back of these cards. So I will draw from that deck there to get a radio message, and that will give me, tell me different ways I should move about the board, either forward or back, or, we'll go through those when we get to a radio spot. So that's what that is. And then I have a repeat of the 4 team spots. And then this is supposed to be a tire, so that spot there is a pit stop, so when the drivers need to change tires, they go into the pit for a pit stop to change tires. So this will give me the option to swap out a book if I want to. This is spin out. So if I land on this one, then I will roll a dice and either move forward or backwards. So we'll get to that if I land on that spot. We have another radio message spot, and then again the 4 team spots. And then I basically have repeated it. So another DRS or drag reduction system spot where I can move forward, another crash spot that is dangerously close to the end of the game here, another radio spot, you know, the team spots to get me book prompts, another pit stop, and this is actually where the pits are located for the Circuit of the Americas. It's kind of in this stretch right here. So that's the pit stop, the spin out, and then another radio stop, and then the checkered flag is the end spot. So essentially we're just gonna roll some dice over here and, you know, go around and hope for the best. So I hope that all makes sense, and I think it'll make a little more sense once we actually get to some rolls. So yeah, this is the board. I hope that all makes sense, and without further ado, let's just go ahead and get into the rolls. All right, so let's start with rule number 1, and I've decided to just use 1 dice because with some practice rounds I'm realizing I'm not getting enough prompts if I use both of them. So we're gonna see how it goes with 1. Okay, 5. 1, 2. Okay, and that is a DRS spot, so we can move forward. Ooh, oh no. So we got a 1, which means we have landed in the crash zone. I need to start over again. So I need to decide if there's a separate punishment for landing in the crash spot and starting over. Like if there's a separate book prompt I should do for that. Let me know what you think. But for the moment, we are just gonna keep on going. Okay, 1. So we've landed on the Mercedes spot, which is the first team spot, so it corresponds to first deck cards over here. So a fantasy book, absolutely no problem. All right. So for the first roll, I did get a fantasy pick. So that was this card here. Hopefully you can actually see that it does in fact say fantasy. So for that one, I'm going to put Fury Song. So the name of the game this month is going to be finishing as many series as I possibly can. This is the final book to the series that starts with Fireborn. This is by Rosaria Munda. I absolutely have loved this series. This is a dragon-centered fantasy, heavy on the politics. It's so good. So I'm incredibly excited to continue with this one. It involves a revolution, and it's just so good. The politics and the characters are so great in here. So I'm going to be finishing out this series. So let's go into the next roll. Next roll. Whoop. We will try that again here. Okay, a 3. So 1, 2, 3. So I've landed on the McLaren spot, or the 4th team spot. So it corresponds to the 4th deck of cards here, if I can get it out. Ooh, a random pick. Okay, so we'll do that one in just a bit, but okay, a random pick. So for the next roll, I got random pick. So there it goes. So for this one, what I wanted to do was create, I have a little bit of a spinner wheel here, and I've put some other books that I'm interested in reading in the month of March. And I anticipate that I probably won't get the number of books that I will read in the month of March, so I figure I'll have a little bit of extra wiggle room. So I'm not going to take a tour. Let's see if I can kind of do this without the glare. So I'm not going to take a tour of the spinner wheel. These are just essentially a bunch of series I want to continue or finish. So we're going to just go with that theme here. So let's see what the spinner wheel dictates. Okay, Twin Crowns 3. So that's Cursed Crowns. So that one I'll probably pick up from the library to get a physical copy. So that one is officially going to go on the TBR. I'll put an image of the book here, and hopefully I can vlog throughout the month of March, I'm hoping, and you know, be able to show you the book then. But for now, I'll just have an image. And this series follows a couple of like some twins who, one was raised in the palace, one was raised in a coven of witches, and for reasons, you know, there's interesting politics between the kingdom and these witches, and these princesses get caught up in what's going on. Super fun. I really enjoy that series, so very excited to continue. So yeah, let's go on to the next roll. Next roll. Ooh, a 6. Okay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we've landed on an Alpine spot, which is the third team spot, i.e. the third deck of cards here. And a book with a person or people on the cover. Okay, can do. So the next one got me a book with people on the cover, or at least a person on the cover. So I think the main book I wanted to read this month that had someone on the cover was A Pirate's Life for Tea. This is by Rebecca Thorne. So this is our character here on the cover. There's also some really gorgeous character art right here. Love it. But there's a character on the cover. And this is the second book after Can't Spell Treason Without Tea. And we follow Raina and Canth, and they open a tea shop, and they get involved in a whole bunch of shenanigans as they are trying to leave their kind of former careers behind them a bit and just focus on opening up this tea shop. But circumstances make that difficult. So the first book was just super fun and cozy, and I'm gonna have a feeling that I'm gonna need a lot of cozy books this month. So we're gonna go with that one, and on to the next roll. And next roll. Oh, another 6. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. So a Haas spot, or the second team spot, second set of cards here. Ooh, a romance book. I love that. Okay. So the next roll got us a romance book. Let's see if you'll be able to, yeah, there we go. A romance book. How pretty is that card? So for this one, I don't necessarily want to limit it to like contemporary romance or anything. Like it can be historical romance, it can be a fantasy romance, just something with an element of romance that is hopefully pretty prominent and kind of at least a good chunk of the focus of the story is kind of what I'm going for here. So I figure a romantasy will fit the bill. So I want to continue this series. This is The Night is Defying, and the first book is The Stars Are Dying. So yeah, I would like to continue this series. I had fun with the first one. It's a very celestial based romantasy. But yeah, I again had fun with the first one, so I'm looking forward to continuing with this one. So yeah, on to the next roll. And next roll, we have a 3. And 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we have a DRS zone, so we're gonna roll the dice and keep moving forward, but we don't want a 1 again. Okay, good, a 6. So we can go right past this crash one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and a McLaren spot. So the final team spot, or the final deck here. Ooh, a mystery. Okay, okay. All right. So the next roll got us a mystery. And similar to the romance card. I wanted this to just be a book that has some element of the mystery. It doesn't need to primarily be a contemporary mystery. It can be a mystery folded into another genre if that's what I want. It can just be a straight up contemporary mystery. But again, it could be historical mystery, so messing with a time period, or it could be a mystery set in a fantasy world, or a sci-fi mystery or something. So what I've gone with, and my coworker will be very excited because he is highly recommending this book to me, and I'm gonna go with The Tainted Cup by Robert Jackson Bennett. So this is a mystery set in a fantasy world, kind of at least from what I understand, it's kind of a Holmes and Watson style mystery, like set in this fantasy world. So I think it's going to be so much fun. So many people on BookTube have enjoyed it, as did my coworker. So we're gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it. I actually just picked this one up recently, and wasn't sure when I'd be able to get to it, but we're gonna get to it in March. So yeah, on to the next roll. Next roll. 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, we landed on a radio spot, so let's see. This radio message says, we have a 5-second penalty for track limits. Roll the dice and move backwards. Uh-oh. Okay. Let's see. Okay, 4. Oop, excuse me. 1, 2, 3, 4. So an Alpine spot, which is the third team spot, or the third deck. Free pick. Okay, that's awesome. So this got me free pick, which is always appreciated. Let's see if it'll focus there. There we go. So free pick is always appreciated. And so we're going to wrap up another series, or at least I don't think there's going to be another one. Maybe there will be someday. But we're going to go with Somewhere Beyond the Sea by T.J. Klune. I have been so excited to read this one, and it's a companion to The House in the Cerulean Sea, which I really loved. And so I've been anxious to read this one and follow these characters after the events of House in the Cerulean Sea. So definitely excited for that one. All right, let's keep going. All right, hopefully we'll be able to finish it out with this next roll. All right, 1, 2, 3. So what we are going to do here is roll this dice. If it's even, we're going to move forward that many spaces, and if it's odd, we're going to move backwards that many spaces. Oh, perfect. Okay, 6, so we can move forward, and we're just going to end at the checkered flag here. So that is the first round of TBR Grand Prix complete. And so we are done with the TBR Grand Prix TBR. So this is what's on the official TBR plus Cursed Crowns. So I think this is looking like a super fun stack for the month. Of course, there are some other books I would like to get to. I anticipate getting to more than these books, but let me talk through some other books that I think I will be at least trying to get to in the month of March. If I'm feeling like continuing a series, I could also continue the Lightlark series by Alex Astor. So that's an option. As far as finishing series, let's go through a few here. So I'm on the final book in the series by Andrea Stewart that ends with the Bone Shard War, starts with the Bone Shard Daughter. I read the first two, I think, back to back, and that was a minute ago, so I've been meaning to get to this third one. So hopefully I can wrap that up. I also will be, and I have this audiobook checked out from the library, so this is actually going to be happening. I need to get to The Blood Orchid, and this is by Kylie Lee Baker. This is the follow-up to The Scarlet Alchemist, and I thoroughly enjoyed that one. So this is the continuation. I believe it's a duology, so I think this will conclude that duology. I also have the final book in the Artifacts of Uranus I think is the name of the series. I have the final book in that series, and this is The Tale of the Heart Queen by Nisha Tooley. And I have thoroughly enjoyed this series. It's just been so much fun. And so, yeah, would love to wrap that up. I think I might also get the hold of Where the Library Hides, What the Library Hides. I'll put an image up here. This is by Isabel Ibanez, and this is the follow-up to What the River Knows. And again, absolutely adored that one. I think this is also going to be a duology, and I'll be getting the Fairy Loot copy before too long, and I think I'll also get the hold for the audiobook from my library before too long. So I think that one could also be on deck for this month. So again, we're trying to finish as many series as we possibly can in the month of March. I was not as successful doing that in the month of February, so I really would like to focus on that in March. So thank you so much for joining me for this adventure into Formula One. I don't know, started getting some random ideas for how this could come together and just started to get inspired. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this was somewhat entertaining. And again, if there are any F1 fans out there, let me know. I think this would be just a fun way to kind of bring in F1 into my reading life as well. I also think it could be really fun because if I want to do a shorter readathon, then I could make a mini version of that board and call it a sprint race, which is also something that actually happens in some of the races. It's kind of a mini race that happens the day before the race for certain Grand Prix. It doesn't happen every weekend, but it happens kind of a handful of times throughout the Formula One season throughout the year. And so there is such thing as a sprint race that's, you know, this mini race, or this like very shortened abbreviated race. And so I think it could be fun if I ever get a chance to do a readathon. I would have the opportunity with this setup to do a small board and, you know, call it a sprint race. Anyway, so I'm really excited. And again, thank you so much for joining me. If you have any suggestions for what I could do here, I could always change out certain spots. I could always add in various prompts that are suggested. Or if you know what these radio messages tend to be from the race engineer, you're a Formula One fan, and you have an idea for a radio message or something, like, again, please leave this all below. I would love to hear any of your suggestions. So subscribe for more bookish content. Again, I'm hoping to vlog in the month of March, so we'll see how that goes, and I can talk through my thoughts on whatever of these books I'm able to finish. And yeah, I'll leave information below, including my Instagram and how you can support the Black Lives Matter movement, and I will see you on the next one. Bye, everyone.